Deal or no deal. All right, so here's how this is going to work. So I have obviously two teams, right? One team is going to receive a player with pretty much all of these, except for outside of one. The other team is going to receive pretty much picks. I do have their remaining contracts on here. If they only have 1 year to their deal, I put a projection on what they were supposed to make in the coming years. I also have available cap space, and if they don't have enough cap space, I put cut candidates on there. So there's a lot of information for us to digest. There's not going to be a whole lot of hey, there's cut candidates, they're over the cap. What are you still going to take this? If you say deal, it's a deal for both teams. If you say no deal, you have to tell me why it's a no deal on which side. And would you counter offer with something, or is it just a flat no way, dude? So first one, this one might be seen a little bit. Raiders receive a first round pick. It's pick number 10 for Davante Adams.
Deal.
Straight up first round pick, Davante Adams. So just to let you know, Davante Adams has 3 years left on his deal. He's going to be a cap hit of $25 million this year and $44 million the next 2 years after that. With a potential out after this next year, there's a potential out in 2025 with only a dead cap of $15 million. So there is an out of there if you wanted that for some reason. The Jets only have $6.6 million in cap space, so there is that issue. 3 guys that can kind of remedy that a little bit for post-June 1st cuts. CJ Mosley will save you $17 million. Laken Tomlinson will save you $13 million. And John Franklin Myers will save you $13.9. That's going to save you the most amount of money. So all the information, do you take that deal?
Are we operating under the assumption that if the Raiders make this deal, like they're going to negotiate the cap hits and not take that much dead money? Because if you're trading for Davante, you're not leaving a bunch of his cap hit behind.
Yeah, I would assume that there's going to be some type of consumption at that point.
Yeah. I would have traded Davante at the trade deadline personally. I'm not a big believer in trading certain players for picks. Like I don't believe that you trade Max Crosby away just to try to draft Max Crosby. But so when you said Raiders, I was
AJ Brown for Trey Burks.
Yeah,
Traylon
stupid.
Burks.
Oh, the next Debo Samuel. How'd that work out for you? I thought you were going to go Max Crosby at first. I'm glad you didn't. Yeah. Davante, free that man. And you're rebuilding anyway. You don't have a quarterback on the roster. That's your future. Josh Jacobs is a free agent. That's a deal. That's honestly, I think that's a great deal. And actually kind of makes me a little nervous because I'm not sure I want to see the Jets load up like that with Davante. And I'm a big Garrett Wilson guy. So
big time, bro.
I think Breece Hall is a stud also. So
big time.
But I will tell you, we haven't talked about this man one time on the podcast. I do not think that Rodgers is coming out and setting the league on fire next year. So we could talk about that in the offseason.
But let's save that one.
He's slow.
For sure.
So
yeah, for sure. Next one. All right, deal or no deal. Bears received a 2024 second-round draft pick, number 43 overall. And who receives Justin Fields? The Falcons. The Falcons receive Justin Fields, and the Bears receive a 2024 second-round pick. Justin Fields has 1 year, $6 million left on his deal. Obviously, that is with the assumption that he's going to be it's almost going to be like a test year. So I didn't put a potential what he's going to make because he's kind of floating up in the air right now. They do have $26 million in cap space, the Falcons do. So if they do want to sign him to a smaller deal for a couple of years, they do have that option. But once again, Bears receive a 2024 second-round draft pick from the Falcons, and the Falcons get Justin Fields on a test year. Let's call it that. Deal or no deal?
I don't hate the trade. I don't hate the compensation. I don't love the thought that Bill Belichick is going to go for trading for Justin Fields. And I think that he's the next head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. So I don't see that as the landing spot. Although sitting here today doesn't seem like that bad of a landing spot for him. But
so this is just a flat no deal, no counter offer. We're not taking this back to the bank, to the dealer. This is a flat just no deal. I don't see this one going down. I don't want this one because of Bill Belichick.
the Falcons already have a quarterback that can't throw the football. I don't know why they would want to trade for another one.
Oh, but this one can run. I
think there's a lot of places where Justin Fields can put Justin Fields in Miami, baby. Like, there's I think there's a lot of interesting things that can happen with Justin Fields. And I think that you could trade. I think you can trade Justin Fields in some of your picks. Well, I think you could trade Justin Fields for a pick. And then you can take those picks and another player and get back into the top half of the first round. I don't know. I see a version of Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison on the Bears because they have their own pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that you can take the picks you get for Justin Jefferson and your pick and move back into the top 5, right? And get Marvin Harrison. Yeah. But I don't see it. I don't see it. The Falcons. But I think your compensation is correct.
So I'm so glad you accidentally brought up Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson gets traded to the Arizona Cardinals. The Vikings receive the 4th overall pick, the 2025 first round pick, and a 2024, so this year's 3rd round pick. It is number 71 overall. Obviously, he's on a 1-year deal. It's going to be a 5th-year option, essentially. If you don't want to take the 5th-year option, you're just going to sign him. His projection numbers is 4 years, $117 million. It's going to be an average salary of 29.3 is the estimation. Could be higher than that, obviously. They do have $44 million in cap space, though they do have the cap for that. Again, Justin Jefferson to the Cardinals. So you're taking the surefire thing. You know what you're getting over the potential maybe Marvin Harrison Jr., which means the Vikings get the Marvin 4th overall Harrison pick, Jr. 3rd round pick, and another 1st round pick on top of that. Deal or no deal?
How many times are the Vikings going to trade away their stud wide receiver to draft the next stud wide receiver? They're just going to keep doing it?
Hey, man, if you don't go out to pay him, it might work. Someone might like to be there in Minnesota. It might not be Randy Moss. It might not be Justin Jefferson. It might not be Stephon Diggs, but it might be Marvin Harrison Jr. Who knows?
My gut instinct is that I hate that idea. I hate that trade for what it means for the 49ers in the division, which makes me think that it's probably a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know why you trade the 4th pick for a player that you have to pay anyway, but I'm of the mindset that they should move off Kyler Murray. I don't think it's going to happen because it's a lot of money and they seem like they've gone with him. And if you're going to stay with him, you need to go get him. I know they traded for Hollywood, all this other stuff they got going on. Their tight end is a beast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, their leading receiver last year.
I think trading for Justin Jefferson, because it's like a 95%, 96%, 97% chance that Marvin Harrison is never in the class of Justin Jefferson. So I think you make that trade. Actually, I don't hate that.
And the Vikings get the compensation that is deserved. 2 1st round picks, the 4th overall, and then the potential. Again, this is the Cardinals' 1st round pick of next year too. I think you're seeing a peak of maybe a mid-round 15th overall pick next year. So a mid-round 1st round pick, and you still get a 3rd round pick, which obviously we know how valuable that 3rd round pick. Those top 3-4 rounds in the draft is invaluable type of compensation. So you get 2 picks in the first three rounds, and then another 1st rounder for next year.
And if one of those top 3 teams doesn't take the quarterback, then the Vikings need a quarterback. Like you're not running it back next year with Nick Mullins, I don't think. So, yeah. Although we'll get into the draft more later, I'm not a big believer in who they currently are saying is going to go number 3, but and number 4 is way too high for like a Michael Penix. But
come on, like are we really seeing New England Patriots pick at 3? When's the last time New England's actually kept their pick? Is this going to be it because Bill Belichick's gone? Right? Are we going to see a change in culture and what we're doing with the team? Or
Well,
is this kind of like a, hey, we're doing the same old thing?
did you see the Gerard Mayo interview? He basically said they're taking a quarterback.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know he
they
had a press conference today, but I didn't see it.
well, it was a sit down interview, and they basically asked him, "What's your mindset going into that high draft pick, one of the highest draft picks you guys have had at years?" He said, "Listen, I'll let you put the pieces on this together, but we're going to be doing a lot of research and a lot of scouting on the most important position in football."
I'm going to put it out there right now before we move on. If New England takes who is, dude, I don't even know why he's the third. If the quarterback, if New England takes Jaden Daniels, you could throw it away again and you can go get another quarterback next year because it's going to be a goddamn waste of time, in my opinion. I don't see anything remotely beneficial or project wise to this man. I can see with some things, you and I can talk a lot about realistically, like not what a player is now, but what he can be. I just don't see it with Jaden Daniels. We'll get into that another time. But if New England takes that quarterback, I think it's a waste.
Yeah, I don't. New England, I think, is in a tough space because that cupboard is bare. That not a ton of talent on the offensive side of ball. I mean, their number one wide receiver was like our fourth overall wide receiver a couple years ago.
Yeah, dude.
The running back's kind of nice, I guess, but the running backs you can find them in every draft now. So I don't really know what New England does. If they trade away, if they stay there, I think it would make more sense for them to trade away and get a massive haul. But the the value in the second overall pick is 1,000 times higher than the value in the third overall pick because it's a 2 quarterback draft class, which is crazy because somebody's going to take Michael Penix or somebody's going to take JJ McCarthy. I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of JJ, but somebody's going to take Michael Penix or somebody's going to take Bo Nix and they're going to have a really good career.
Yeah.
And then whoever gets drafted at third is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's kind of the benefit maybe with the Bucks is the Bucks pick later, and then you could have a guy like Bo Nix, and you're just like, hey, what? I'll take him in the late first. I don't really mind. And you can
Seattle taking Michael Penix, keeping him up there in Washington and where they're at. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. The Panthers receive a 2024 first-round pick, a 2025 third-round pick, and an edge rusher in David Ojabo, and the Ravens receive edge rusher Brian Burns. Brian Burns has 1 year left on his deal. I believe it again, 5th-year option. He would take up $16 million if that was the case. Projection for his contract is 5 years, $108 million, which would be $21.7 million a year. They do have $18 million in cap space. David Ojabo, who the Panthers get in a return. He has 2 years left on his deal with $2 million in each of those years. He is coming off a significant knee injury, which is his second in just 3 years. When he came into the draft in 2022, he was coming off of the big knee injury, and he didn't play in his last year of college, and he declared for the draft. He played in his rookie year, and then he didn't play this last year because, or he did, he played a little bit, but he's coming off of another knee injury, essentially. So he kind of has that naggingness. So once again, Ravens get Brian Burns. The Panthers get a first-round pick this year, a third-round pick next year, and edge rusher David Ojabo. Deal or no deal?
I think that it's a deal within the mindset that they have to trade Brian Burns. I think it's no deal from the mindset that put that dude on the market, call every GM, let him know he's available because they haven't signed him. So they're obviously going to trade him because they would have signed him by now. This goes back to that stupid ass trade they made already where they, the Bears, right? What's the wide receiver's name?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. They wanted DJ Moore or they wanted Brian Burns. And they're like, okay, we'll send you DJ Moore. And then, looks like they got a bust at the number 1 overall pick this year. They should have just sent him Burns and kept their wide receiver and gave that dude someone to throw to instead of dumping it down to some guy named Chuba every 3 plays. I think that 1,000% he's traded in the offseason. I just think that you put him on the market and you let the highest bids come in and you go from there. So I don't actually think your compensation is off. I don't even think it's that bad of compensation at all. I just think that once he's up available on the market and people know he's getting moved, it'll come in a little higher.
Yeah. Okay. I'm cool with that. Oh, this is one that might be lingering on your mind a little bit. Texans receive Brandon Aiyuk and a 7th round pick, while the Niners receive a 2024 first round pick from the Browns, a 2024 5th round pick, and a 2025 4th round pick. So you have a first and a 5th for this year, a 4th for next year. And again, the Texans receive Brandon Aiyuk and a 7th round pick. Brandon Aiyuk is projected to receive a 4-year, $91 million contract at $22.9 million a year. The Texans have $71 million in cap space, so cap really isn't an issue for them. No cuts, no nothing, no concerns. Deal or no deal, and again, this is coming from the Niners fan. This is something that you have brought up personally. What do we do with Brandon Aiyuk? Deal or no deal with the Houston Texans?
What's the Browns pick? Like 21?
Yeah, I believe it's about 21. It's not. Yes, I believe it is.
I wonder if that's too high to go get that kid from Washington. Oduzene, whatever his name is. That dude's a stud. I'm not a big believer in trading away a player for a pick to draft a player to replace him. We tried that with Javon Hargrave. We tried that with Javon Kinlaw when we traded away DeForest Buckner, and it didn't work out. But you're running into a money crunch, and I will tell you this: Brandon Aiyuk's future. And it's funny because I have a little segment I want to do at the end. I'm going to hijack our podcast a little bit and play host for a second. I have a little segment, Brandon Aiyuk's part of it.
Okay.
His future depends on what happens in these playoffs. Because if we have to retool, if we have to rebuild to come back next year and try to win, you can't let important pieces like Eric Armstead and George Kittle and Mooney Ward and some of these other people that we're paying big money to, Javon Hargrave, go. But if we win the Super Bowl this year, if we host the trophy, we have a parade, maybe we phase into the next version of what the 49ers are going to be. And I think there's some salary that we can let go to keep Brandon Aiyuk if we win a Super Bowl. So if the 49ers are Lombardi Trophy winners, no deal. If we don't win, deal.
I like that. The Browns pick is the 23rd pick, just for clarity. And I did look up a mock draft. The most recent mock draft from CBS has Rome going, I believe it was 15th. So that's kind of where he's at. And then I have this one. I have this one for PFF having him going 10th to the Jets.
Whoa!
But if the Jets are trading their pick to the Raiders, maybe the Raiders take them instead. But I think you're probably looking at
the Raiders will take some dude that's projected to go in the 4th round.
Oh, you're right. My bad. I think you're looking at probably 10 to 20 is probably where he's projected. So maybe a little bit high. But yeah, I like that. And then I have one more to cap off the podcast and to cap off the deal or no deal. Bengals receive a 2024 second round pick and a 2025 first round pick in a tag and trade deal for T. Higgins to the Patriots. T. Higgins is obviously going to be in the understanding that he's going to get a contract. He is projected a 4-year, $74 million contract at $18.6 million a year. So once again, Bengals receive this year's second from the Patriots, next year's first from the Patriots, which is pretty damn good if you ask me, especially from the Patriots. And the Patriots receive stud T. Higgins again in a tag and trade deal. Deal or no deal?
It has to be a deal, right? Because you're not gonna re-sign him to keep him. So you have to get something out of him. That's
not damn good compensation too.
There's not a ton of sign and trades in the NFL. It's not really it's a more of an NBA thing. But I think that it's just one of those things where the compensation is there and you want to get something for him, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and I don't think the Bengals are nowhere near the conversation that the 49ers have, where we can make arguments about, do you keep Brandon and move off of Debo? Do you keep Debo and move off of Brandon Ayuk? Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. There's no doubt about it.
100%. Yes. And
So,
and just for context, I think that when you can have that argument about Debo versus Brandon Ayuk and who do you keep and how do you move money around and whatnot, Brandon Ayuk is the best wide receiver on the team, my opinion. Dude, I saw something crazy. There was a CD. You take CD Lamb or this guy, and Brandon Ayuk got brought up, and someone's like, "Oh, CD Lamb 100% all the way to the," which is fine, absolutely. There's only a couple of guys that you take over CD Lamb at this point. And someone else said Brandon Ayuk's not even the best receiver on his team. You're smoking crack, because Brandon Ayuk is 100% one of the best wide receivers in the league. And if you can't see that, bro, you don't watch ball, you don't know stats, and you don't know advanced stats at the end of the day. I don't care about what the stats say. The advanced stats are super important. If you just watch that dude play, bro, he's not open just because of scheming. He's open because he's a goddamn good one of the best route runners in the league. He belongs in that top 5 conversation for best route runners in the league right now, in my opinion. But you can have that conversation with T. Higgins versus Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase is, like you said, he's Jamar Chase. He's that dude. T. Higgins is really, really good, and he can go be a 1 for the Patriots really, 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 really easy and be 1 on quite a few teams. But he's not beating out no Jamar Chase. But Brandon Ayuk can beat out Debo.
Brandon Ayuk had 1,300 yards this year, something like that. CD had 1,700.
Yep.
And Brandon Ayuk had 50 less targets.
Yeah.
So you can make the argument. Personally, if I was picking either player for my team, I like CD's physical build a tad bit more than Brandon Ayuk, but
some people forget that CD's like 6'4" or some shit.
He's a big body, but Brandon Aiyuk is one of the best blockers in the league at the wide receiver position. Every single time there's a breakaway run for the 49ers, the running back goes running, and you just see the defensive back getting his ass backpedaled. The 49ers have a hard hat in their locker room that every time you get like a 20-yard block or a 10-yard pancake or whatever by the wide receiver, they get to sign it. And Brandon Ayuk's all over that. And he was in the doghouse for Shanahan the first year after his rookie year. And Shanahan came out and said, hey, we had to throw the ball a lot to that dude last year because we had no one else, but he ain't ready. He's not doing what he needs to do. And the thing about this team is Danny Gray, Madden legend, hurt himself in the preseason, and he's been ready to come back since week 7. And we keep elevating Chris Conley and the other dude, I can't even remember his name, off the practice squad because Danny Gray doesn't block. So they don't.
Yeah. Dude, and imagine, I mean, the Niners get that compensation, which is good for the Niners to have a first-round pick. You guys have a first-round pick this year?
Yeah.
You guys actually have your first-round pick finally back?
Isn't that exciting?
Wow, that is really exciting. Dude, since we've gone back and forth with deep scouting, you guys have not had a first-round pick. So that's very exciting. I love that. But you guys get another first-round pick. So not only do you get your first-round pick back finally, but you get another one from the Browns. You get, you get 2 picks in the 20s, or maybe 1 in the 30s.
32.
And probably not. And then you also, on top of that, get a 5th, and then again, next year's 4th as well. So, and dude, Brandon Aiyuk on the Texans, it's like, it feels like the Texans have a team that works, right?
But do they need him?
To work. I don't know if it's about need, right? I mean, who's their weapons, right? So Dalton Schultz is a free agent, and he signed a 1-year deal on a prove-it deal, and it's kind of a wash, right? He put up really similar numbers with the Cowboys and the Houston Texans, so the deal that he gets isn't going to be massive. I think it's going to be top 10, 8, somewhere around there, maybe 6. But it's not going to be a huge, groundbreaking deal where he's going to be the highest paid tight end all of a sudden. Now, if he went out this year and had 1,100 yards or something stupid, yeah, obviously he would have that. But he's not going to have anything crazy. So then you're looking at it from a perspective of Nico Collins, Tank Dell, And then who else? Right? Noah Brown. Right? Okay, cool. But Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, Nico had a great season, but do you want to rely on a guy like Nico Collins to have another one? Is it a product of a one-hit wonder and that's it? That's all you get? Or is this more of a let's bring in Brandon Aiyuk, who's bona fide. We know who he is and we know what we want. Let's go out and get this. Like, we're clearly ready for a little bit more. Let's go get a little bit more. Let's put Brandon Aiyuk as our one, and let's run with Nico and Tank. Right? It frees up those other guys as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I had already kind of thought that the Chiefs might float a first round pick for Brandon Aiyuk, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was competition for his services.
And if you want to go look at like what you need, like if you're not going to go, if you're going to use that first round pick, right? What do you need? Rushing is what you need, right? Your running backs, your leading back is Devin Singletary, right? After a pretty disappointing season from your starter. So your starter is Devin Singletary at this point. Congratulations. Not a lot of teams want that there. But you're not going to use a first round pick on a running back, I don't think. And the other thing that they might have a little bit trouble with is their offensive line, kind of injury riddled and ridden at this point. But you can go out, maybe go sign a top line guy again. They got quite a bit of cap space, man. I mean, $71 million in cap. You don't got to use it on CJ Stroud yet, obviously, right? I mean, you go out and you go bolster up your offensive line a little bit. You go and you trade for Brandon Aiyuk, and I mean, the defense is kind of middle of the road, but again, you boast it up with a couple of small things here and there, especially in the passing game. If there's not like a corner that's sitting there or a safety sitting there that you want, I mean, you might as well go get a top flight receiver at that